There have been several different collectible...
Wait, no. Hang on. This isn't a TCG. What's up, everyone? It's Dan with Maindeck, and welcome to a very serious video today. No, this is gonna be a pretty chill, pretty fluffy, pretty just for fun video. I saw this video going around a little bit, which is the WatchMojo video that just released a few days ago. Top 20 best trading card games. This got shared by one of our members in the Maindeck Discord. And people were talking about it a little bit. Of course, WatchMojo is the company that is producing 1 million videos a day. A good chunk of them are AI generated, and they say so, and they use AI thumbnails a lot of the time. They say the script is AI generated. They do have real people who still write and do the readings for the videos and everything, but WatchMojo is not known for having the most solid takes on things at times. It's literally just content you turn your brain off to and have playing in the background or something. So I thought it was really interesting that they had a list of the top 20 best trading card games. It looks like they had a previous list that was the top 10 like 8 years ago. And obviously the TCG landscape has changed a ton since then. I looked into it and it doesn't look like this one's actually AI generated. It has an actual writer attached to it. So, I don't know. We'll see. I just thought it'd be kind of fun. We're going to watch through this video. Hopefully I'll be able to cut some stuff and won't make it the entire length that they do it for. But I'll give my takes on things. And just like usual, anytime I give my takes and my rankings on card games, everybody unanimously loves it. So settle in, grab some popcorn. Please don't take this video too seriously. This is just going to be my off-the-cuff opinions and basically reactions to this video as we watched it. I have not watched this yet, so without any further ado, let's just take a look.
Yeah! Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the coolest and
Lorcana, of course,
trading card games. Number 20, UniVersus collectible card game.
Okay, so starting off with UniVersus actually really surprises me, and they're actually showing pictures here of the recent like Sun Wukong, very generic demo decks that they created, all the new card templates and everything. Okay, so like, wow, this is wild. This is actually, I have to see what else is on the list. This could be considered a reasonable placement depending on your tastes and everything. It's certainly a complicated card game, but it has some pretty high-end IPs. It is a really good game at the heart of it, for sure. I'm surprised it even made it on the list. There's more than 20 games right now. There's over 30 games that are in regular distribution. But okay, cool.
All the sets are cross-compatible, meaning you can mix and match your favorite franchises in the same deck.
What a striking card and what a powerful card.
Number 19, Chaos.
Okay. This is top 20 TCGs of all time. I just realized, not right now because Chaotic is here. What? Okay. Top 20 TCGs of all time. UniVersus at number 20. Does that mean if they're considering like the history of UniVersus, 20 maybe feels low? Chaotic being on here at all? Well, let's hear what they have to say. I guess I don't even know. I don't even know if I buy that, but let's see.
Chaotic trading card game.
The attack is in the pack. Chaotic!
Been taken down. Chaotic was the only franchise to be able to fully integrate a solid game across multiple platforms. Now that is dedication.
Okay, the only game to fully integrate a game across several platforms. It until right now, I guess it is maybe the only TCG that. No, hang on, because I mean, I don't even think this is right. So Lightseekers and the Warhammer card game, both were games that integrated digital and physical, and you would own cards both digitally and physically and be able to play them with a dedicated app. Altered, which is releasing now, to be fair, it's not even quite out yet. Altered is almost identical, except it doesn't have a dedicated app developed by the company. It's instead using Board Game Arena for that. So it's not necessarily fair to say it's the only one that has done that. But it was the longest running one that did it so far.
Play in person and online at chaoticgame.com. Ask your parents first.
Number 18.
Ask your parents first.
Duel Masters trading card.
So basically, Chaotic is there because of, I think, the unique thing that it did. And I don't think that makes it the best. It just makes it interesting, right? I don't know if I buy that at all.
Game. Spawned from the Duel Masters manga and anime series.
Duel Masters being at number 18 is a crime. Just straight up. It's just an absolute crime. I don't know what he's going to say here, but Duel Masters should be in the top 10 for sure. Not 18. This is absurd.
Series. Features and powers are used to attack and destroy the other player. And the game has a lot.
Look how cool the art was for original Duel Masters. I don't know if I'm just extremely nostalgic for it, but when they did Kaijudo, they didn't use the same art style. Kaijudo was the remake of Duel Masters that they did in the mid-2010s. But it did not use this original art style, and this original art style was just, I don't know. I don't know what it was about it. It was slightly gritty, slightly anime, and super, super cool. It was like, what if Battle Spirits did good artwork? Which is maybe shots fired, but that's fair. I'm going to fire him right now.
Number 17. Cardfight.
Cardfight Vanguard at number 17 of all time. Cardfight Vanguard is currently, it's got to be the fifth or sixth longest running TCG that's currently available. And it's pretty good, actually. Like I ranked it. I mean, I know when I do my ranking each year, I put it somewhere in the middle of the pack, but it's a fun game. It's a good game. So I don't know, 17 low maybe for Cardfight.
Vanguard trading card game. Time to represent your astral spirits. A rather unique entry for our list, Cardfight Vanguard pits two players against each other as astral spirits on a...
Why is it a unique entry on this list? What makes Cardfight Vanguard specially unique, where that was the way to describe it, compared to every other card game that is on this list? It's just an anime themed card game. What's unique about it here?
The game attributes most of its success to the popular anime of the same name. The card game still continues to this day, with a plethora of anime series released with...
I think the game's initial success was probably attributed to having an anime attached to it to a degree, because there was a period of time in card gaming history where that was perceived basically off the success of Pokemon and then Yu-Gi-Oh! That was perceived as the thing to do. Like, you had to do that to be successful. And Duel Masters, sorry. But I don't think the Cardfight anime was really the reason that it has the staying power that it has. I think that is largely due to Bushiroad just sticking to their guns and putting out good-looking artwork on cool-looking cards and making a reasonable game around it. It's far from the most successful game in the market right now, but it's also far from being an unsuccessful game. It just kind of exists and does a good job and services its fan base well. And nobody's really getting into the game because they saw the anime. Again, maybe initially, right? That because there was like a burst of interest from that, but that ship has sailed. Nobody cares to make an anime for their TCG anymore. That doesn't make you successful anymore. That's just not the thing to do.
Number 16, the Netrunner Franchise.
Okay. I am not a Netrunner fan personally. Like, I've played the game and it for several reasons I don't vibe with it. But I'll go to bat for you guys, okay? I'm going to bat for you right now. This should not be number 16. There's no world where Netrunner exists at 16. It's just, this is absurd. This game is one of the most unique, iconic card games of all time. And it is an extremely in-depth, extremely skill-focused game with a really cool theme that, I mean, you want to talk about unique games, right? This one, they could have said that for. No game has this theme. No game has these mechanics. No game does it like Netrunner. 16? Absurd. Absurd.
Netrunner casts characters as hackers competing with each other to hack and steal valuable data from a mega corporation. Well, considered an underrated title.
So I don't think I played the original version of Netrunner very much. It was a long time ago, if so. I don't remember it being hacker versus hacker. I mean, at least the current one. The current iteration is hacker versus megacorp. That's one of the things that's so unique about this game, is that it is one of the few TCGs that has players playing asymmetrical roles in it. One player plays the hacker, the other plays the corp, and the hacker is trying to hack into the corp, and the corp is trying to put up basically like firewalls, ice walls, to stop the hacker from getting into their stuff, and bluffing the hacker as to where they're keeping the important stuff that the hacker's trying to get to. And that's what's so cool about the game.
And despite being discontinued, there's an expandable card game based on it under the name Android Netrunner.
If the runner takes more damage than the number of cards in his hand, he is flatlined.
Number 15.
Okay. That was they did not include the right information there. There was a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games called Android Netrunner, which is where I got the most experience playing that. And then they discontinued it. It was speculated that it was because Wizards of the Coast was maybe going to actually do like a digital card game or something with Netrunner. Nothing to that end has happened yet. But after that, they discontinued it, but a group of fans brought it from the grave. It's now the most successful dead card game of all time, with Nisei is the name of the current iteration of it. And if you want to play Netrunner, you can go play. I think you can print and play everything now. You can go find a group and play with. They have tournaments at like major conventions all the time. Definitely go look into that and play the game, because it is even though I didn't love it, it's a great game. But yeah, I just wanted to add correct information for them there, because they were definitely missing that.
World of Warcraft trading card game. When an MMORPG isn't enough, add a card game. Not to be...
Okay. I mean, it's the IP. The reason it's the IP, of course. This is fair here, because World of Warcraft trading card game did spawn Hearthstone. Hearthstone is an iteration of the WoW TCG. It's a reasonable thing to have on this list, I think. And then Hearthstone spawned a million other digital Hearthstone clones too. So yeah, this is an important part of TCG history.
It later gave way to the even more popular Hearthstone series. So we can let this one go.
I think they're about to end this. So I'm going to mention that World of Warcraft TCG did some things that were extremely innovative at the time. I can't remember if they came before or after Neopets, but those two, I think, were the first TCGs to do loot cards in the packs, where you could get loot for your digital game by buying those packs, which was really innovative at the time, for sure. And then World of Warcraft was one of the first TCGs. No, I won't say one of the first, because I'm not sure about everything from the early 90s necessarily, but it's one of the most popular TCGs to push cooperative play in their raid decks, which was a really cool idea at the time. They had a good team that cooked when they made WoW TCG, for sure. So it's a good game. This is probably a good place for it, because I don't know if I would consider it a great TCG, but it was a good one that did some really cool stuff and was an important part of history.
Number 14, Vampire, the Eternal Struggle. Now these are real vampires, not ones that sparkle. Designed in...
Ooh, the Twilight Shade. It's a funny artwork too. Is his name Duck? This vampire's name is Duck, apparently. I have not played. This is I'll go ahead and say this is one of the few TCGs I haven't actually ever played, but I know this was a cult classic TCG that a lot of people really dug. I remember I've read stories of people who sold their early Magic collection to buy into Vampire because they thought it was the hot thing. And the Vampire franchise has spawned a lot of other games and card games and deck building games and stuff throughout the years, including, I think, an expandable card game as well. But this is certainly a part of history. I don't know if it's easy to call it one of the best card games of all time. Maybe that's fair, but yeah, it is a card game of all time for sure.
Unlike most trading card games that focus on a duel between two players, Vampire works best with a group of 5 in a King of the Hill style match. Or it can even be played in teams. Regardless of how you play, Vampire...
I will say that the TCG space is open. I think there's a niche for good multiplayer TCGs to exist, The problem is just figuring out how to do an organized play system with them, with it, which is one of the cornerstones of a TCG actually really working, getting people invested to play over time. Otherwise, they're just going to treat it like a board game and not keep buying the product. And you need people to keep buying products to keep TCGs afloat. So the fact that they did that was very innovative for the time, but also I think is why it didn't last as long as it could have, which is why it's a harder thing, I think, to put higher on the list. We're not that high yet, but yeah, I mean, okay, I'll buy it. I'll buy it.
Number 13, Weiss Schwarz.
Number 13 is Weiss Schwarz. Weiss Schwarz is a number of spots ahead of Cardfight Vanguard. Cardfight Vanguard is a better game than Weiss Schwarz across the board, in my opinion. I think Weiss Schwarz is a far inferior game to Cardfight Vanguard from a one-on-one competitive TCG perspective. Weiss wins on IP, like IP availability alone, basically, I guess. And I don't think that's enough to call it a best card game of all time. I think you swap those two card game spots on this list, and I'm feeling a lot better about the list. Or you could take Weiss Schwarz off the list. Honestly, I don't know if it's a top 20 game. I think it's, sure, top 20 anime collectibles. Great. Game? Nah, I don't know.
Weiss Schwarz is a trading card game that adapts anime and game titles, so everyone can enjoy their favorite titles as a card game.
The game's rules aren't for the faint of heart and present a complex yet dynamic gaming experience.
Weiss's rules are not for the faint of heart. Weiss is one of the most convoluted games to learn initially. And what's really weird is that the rules for the game are built so that they're pretty convoluted to learn. Playing the game optimally does involve a system of self-sacrificing cards to clock yourself, is what it's called, to increase your level to try and gain an advantage over the opponent. And outside of that, the game is built with this huge catch-up mechanism built in, which is as you're going to take damage, you're going to then be able to play higher level stuff. So a game between two early level players can easily play out where you just go attack you. Okay, now you play bigger things, attack your opponent back. Then they play bigger things, attack you back, and back and forth until one player wins the game. So what I'm saying is ultimately it's a convoluted, kind of obnoxious rule system that is really not easy to demo. And ends up feeling like a very casual game where anybody can kind of win the game. And that has always felt like a weird mismatch to me. So yeah, I laugh because it's almost an understatement, but it's just it's a weird game system.
For adept CCG players, the artwork on these Weiss Schwarz cards is sumptuous, to say the least. And it feels
yeah, these are cards that you can't always show your family or friends. I mean, sometimes like the Spy Family one's great, but like some of the higher rarity cards, it's like the higher the rarity goes, the less clothes the character wears, that's a way to do it.
Number 12, the Dragon Ball collectible card game franchise.
Son Goku. Piccolo.
There have been several different collectible...
Wait, no. Hang on. This is actually going to offend me. You can't, you literally can't just combine Score DBZ. Do you know how many, do you know how many Dragon Ball card games there have been? From Mayhem to Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, technically a different game, but it's really the same game as Dragon Ball Z. Then ReZ, which is a completely different game. That's the Dragon Ball Z TCG. This is the Dragon Ball Z CCG. Then you had the Bandai Dragon Ball card game, which was the clone of Naruto. And then you had Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball Fusion World, which is the same as like GT to Dragon Ball Z, basically. You cannot take all of these games and combine them into one ranking because they're totally different games. There are minimum 5 different games in that list that I just gave, and you can't. This is absurd to put them all in one. And frankly, the Score and Panini versions of Dragon Ball Z, I didn't even include, there's 2 versions of those. The Score and Panini versions of these, in my opinion, are superior games to the Bandai versions of the games. And honestly, this is going to be a hot take, but maybe the original Bandai, the Naruto clone, is possibly a better game than both of them. But there's a hot take for the day.
card games that have capitalized upon the popular
No, I felt bad about that. I take it back. The Panini and Score one still is better than that. But all right, I just felt bad. I had to say it.
popularity of both Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. The original Dragon Ball Z collectible card game arrived first
That's not the original Dragon Ball Z collectible card game. That is a picture of the Dragon Ball collectible card game from Bandai. That's the Naruto clone.
in 2000 and lifted imagery directly from the anime. Bandai would then develop the Dragon Ball collectible card game in 2008
Oh, okay.
before replacing
Okay, all right. That is just a weird place to put the images. I understand this is convoluted. The editor maybe didn't know all the differences between these things, but maybe they just placed the images wrong there.
it with the Dragon Super Ball collectible card game in
Wait, the what? The Dragon Super Ball collectible card game? Yo, I want to collect some Dragon Super Balls.
2017. Fans of the franchise have been particularly pleased with this latter entry, thanks to its energetic and unpredictable playing style.
Then what? Try and say less with a statement about a card game. It's energetic and unpredictable gameplay style. Okay, first of all, what's an energetic gameplay style for a TCG? What does that even mean? And second, do you actually want your games to be like particularly unpredictable? Like there should be some amount of agency and control in every card game, right? Like, okay. I don't, this fan wasn't at least super pleased with the Dragon Super Ball card game.
If you have more power than your opponent, you win.
The artwork has also resonated with fans, making this Dragon Ball card
Artwork is dope on the high rarity cards. That's Bandai's specialty. Bandai produces really good looking high rarity cards. That's their calling card.
Number 11, Arkham Horror, the card game.
This isn't a TCG. There's nothing collectible about Arkham Horror, the card game. There's nothing you trade. You just purchase them. I accepted Netrunner because Netrunner started as a TCG and had an expandable card game later. I gave it a pass. This is not a TCG. This shouldn't be on the list.
The literary world of H.P. Lovecraft is full of rich.
It's a great game, but it's not a TCG.
Arkham Horror, the card game, isn't one for beginners or those new to card games in general, but instead offers harrowing stories of mystery.
This game is totally playable by people who are new to card games. Fantasy Flight has a full quick start guide that walks you through everything. This game is just simply not more complicated than any other board game on the market. If you can handle any Fantasy Flight board game, you can handle Arkham Horror, the card game. And I point that out specifically because this isn't a trading card game. This is an expandable card game that is played cooperatively. This is the closest thing to a board game that a card game can get. This is a weird thing to put on the list, and I'm mad about it.
Arkham.
Number 10, Star Wars Unlimited.
Okay, so it's really early, but I'm happy that they put Star Wars Unlimited in the top 10 because Star Wars Unlimited feels to me like an all-time TCG. Already it feels to me like it's going to be an all-time TCG. So that's good.
Star Wars has branched out in so many other forms of media.
Wait a second, though. Hang on. I just got mad. You're going to put Star Wars Unlimited as its own trading card game, but then you're going to combine every single Dragon Ball Z card game into the same card game? That makes no sense at all. That makes no sense. Do you know how many Star Wars TCGs there have been too? CCG better be on this top 10. CCG better be at least have its on. I'm still going to be mad about the Dragon Ball Z thing, but if Star Wars CCG, Decipher Star Wars CCG isn't in the top 10, then this list is just throw it out. Just what was even the point of doing this?
With both players getting their own leader card along with a deck consisting of resource cards. Star Wars Unlimited is one of the most promising card games in a long time.
Wait, what did they say?
Game is to destroy the other's base card, with both players getting their own leader card along with a deck consisting of resource cards.
A deck consisting of resource cards? You can play any card as a resource, but why would you ever say that way? Why would you say it's a deck consisting of resource cards? It's a deck consisting of units and upgrades and events. Yeah, you can play them as resources, I guess, but that's a weird thing to say.
Galaxy.
Number 9, the Final Fantasy trading card game franchise.
What? What? They recognize the Final Fantasy. First of all, they recognize the Final Fantasy TCG. That never happens. In the history of the world, that has never happened. To this day, people still are not sure if it's a real thing. It's a mythological TCG at this point. That said, it has tournaments all the time. It has a player base that love it. We run great. We have popular leagues on the Maindeck Discord. Come join us if you like Final Fantasy. But I can't believe it's here. I can't believe it's at number 9. Like, UniVersus being at 20 and this being at 9 is so funny. Like, it's a good game. So if you're just like, if it's gameplay alone or something that like, okay, like, sure, I'm not going to fight that hard for it, but it's weird to put the 4th oldest TCG of all time with a million iconic franchises and a storied history at number 20. And then Final Fantasy, the game nobody even knows exists, at number 9. But I'm not mad about it. It's just wild. I can't quite figure out how they're ranking these, but I guess that's probably how you all feel about my tier list as well. So there you go.
Everything from crystals and creature summons is available here, while the gorgeous artwork on each card is sure to evoke strong feelings of nostalgia.
The gorgeous artwork on each card. They have some incredible looking full art cards, chase cards, and then they have some of the worst looking cards. Honestly, I'm sorry. The like sprite art cards are sometimes just terrible looking. The theater rhythm cards look so weird. No, that's not an applicable piece of praise here, unless you're specifically only talking about what are truly good looking full art cards.
Number 8, the Digimon card game franchise.
Okay, again, they're gonna, every time it's a Bandai game, I guess they just combine it with the previous iterations. So yeah, there are 2 different Digimon card games at least that came to America. I don't know about anything else. And they are completely different games. They're totally different games. You can't, the newer one is based on the Chrono Clash system, which was a short-lived, expandable-ish, weird, buy a single box card game from Bandai. And then they made a TCG, which was a lot more successful out of that. Go figure. And the original one was an old 2000s TCG, which is full of nonsense. Totally different games, and you can't combine them here. Number 8? I'd put it in the teens. I think I'd put this in the teens, but I don't like 8 for this. Not with the history of TCGs that could be here instead.
The art is bright and vibrant, the rules easy to follow, and the strategy here is compelling enough to keep bringing players back for more.
Digimon card game, keep fighting till the end because you never know.
Number 7.
I have never heard that. They didn't know they had a whole theme song. That is so sick. I have to listen to that. That was dope. All right, fine. It can be number 8 if it has that sick theme song.
Marvel Champions, the card game.
Okay, look. This says, look at the top. Look at the top. Right there. It says top 20 best trading card games. It does not say top 20 best LCGs, expandable card games. They are so different. The 2 types of games are so different. The player bases are so different. And especially, they've included multiple of Fantasy Flight's cooperative LCGs. These are just board games. These are just board games that you and your friends get to spend time deck building instead of reading a new rulebook every week. They're just board games with a lot of expansions to buy.
During your turn, you may also play Ally, Event, Upgrade, or Support cards from your...
Or you may play resource cards, because we consider all card types resource cards in all card games now.
Number 6, One Piece card game. The One Piece manga and anime franchise is another one that received the collectible trading card.
If I say that this is too high, you guys are going to get really mad at me. So I'm not going to say that.
Copies of the game and its cards were initially slow to make their...
Wait a second. Also, there are multiple One Piece card games from the past, but they didn't combine them this time, despite this being a Bandai card game. Make it make sense.
This card game can be understood by beginners, while also being mastered by expert players who want to take their skills all the way.
It is an extremely good game to learn as like a first TCG. It is a really simple play structure with some good strategy behind it to dig into. So I put it on my list of top 5 easiest to learn or best first games to play, whatever I call that video. It's really, really good. New TCG to play. It has strategy. I'm not saying you play competitively. That's great. Go for it. But I wouldn't have put it this high personally.
Number 5, Flesh and Blood.
I'm getting really worried because there are 3 obvious card games to exist at the top of this list. And I'm getting very worried that they are not going to pay any homage whatsoever to like some of the original Decipher CCGs that were some of the most iconic and best card games of all time. Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, X-Files, not X-Files, Austin Powers. Where's Austin Powers? No, but like these are, this is, okay. Frankly, this is why I've been asked a few times to do like a rank all TCGs of all time. This is why I don't do that, because trying to rank historically all the great TCGs and all the current great TCGs and everything is like impossible to do. It is really, really difficult. I don't envy that they attempted to do this, but I am going to criticize their choices still, because that's my prerogative. It's my video.
You nearly always go through your deck at least one time.
Flesh and Blood at 5 is probably fine. It's probably fine. I mean, the game's doing good. The game's doing great. It had rocketed off a couple of years ago, but has definitely leveled out in its growth. It attracts a good amount of people, pretty specific demographics, usually pretty competitive TCG players, and often TCG players that feel cast aside by Magic or are looking for something to scratch a particular competitive itch. I think it could be a more approachable game. I think it could work on its the pricing of its singles cards for competitive play. And I think it's done some things to address that stuff. And I think the Living Legends system is crazy that they do. I don't know if it's good or bad. I just think it's wild. 5, I don't know if I would have ranked it 5 of all time. I rank it highly on my tier list typically because it's doing well in the market right now, and it's a good game to get into because it's easier to find groups. Although, spoilers, I'm probably going to rank it down a little in the next tier list that I do. I feel like it's cooled a bit. So yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna analyze the market a little more and stuff, but top 10 maybe, but I don't know if 5 is maybe high for me.
Number 4, Disney.
This is going to trigger me. Oh my God. Okay. I hear it. I'm going to hear it out.
It's also a solid potential bet for younger players looking to dip their toes into the CCG and TCG market.
All right, so let's learn Lorcana.
Number 3.
Okay. Lorcana is not my favorite game on the market. You guys probably know that. You watched the tier list video. You watched some of my other videos. You know, I'm not a huge Lorcana fan myself. I totally respect it, and I get its place in the industry. And I totally respect everybody who really digs the game. I have local people I'm friends with who dove in playing it competitively, played every week, love it. That's awesome. I feel what I don't like about it being a number 4 has nothing to do with how I feel about a gameplay. It is placing a game as new as Lorcana in the top 5 when it feels like the top 5 games of all time. I don't think you can put anything that released roughly a year ago in that list. That doesn't really jive with me, because that feels like something you'll regret later, right? That's like you'll drop it down potentially or something. I mean, maybe it'll end up panning out, but let's be honest. We've been waiting for a number 4 to the big 3 for like 20 years, and just never happens. I think there are other games that have been out longer that deserve to take that spot. I'm not like, you might think I'm trying to say Star Wars Unlimited should be there or something, or a Grand Archive, which I'm probably not even going to talk about here. It's fine that Grand Archive's not on this list because it's it's a smaller indie game. There's no reason for it to be on the top 20 games of all time yet, right? If it proves itself over another 5-10 years, great. But like, I just putting Lorcana on there feels really weird to me. It feels like the writer of this was just really hyped on the new game and had to slap it in the top spot. When again, I think there's games like Star Wars TCG or Lord of the Rings or something that they could have put at number 4, or one of the other games on this list. If this list is a popularity contest, Final Fantasy shouldn't be at number 9. And Lorcana, One Piece makes sense being higher for sure based on popularity, but then why is Final Fantasy at number 9? And why are LCGs on here at all? Why is Netrunner on the list? I mean, Nisei, sure, but World of Warcraft, what? Like, chaotic? What? The Lorcana thing, I think, just really, really throws the list into a lot of question for me, if it wasn't already in question, which it certainly was.
3. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. Yeah, we know. It's time to duel.
Now, Kaiba, prepare yourself, because
Like, we all know what the top 3 are now, right? It's just, the question is, what order are Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic, and Pokemon in? Apparently Yu-Gi-Oh! Is number 3, which is fine. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is iconic. Before anyone gets mad at me in the comments, there's a lot of rabid Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans out there, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Is iconic. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very skillful game. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very competitive game. I've said it all for you. It's yeah, it's fine. I have no problem with the top 3 being the big 3. That's probably where this should be.
because it's time to duel.
Snagging the spot as the best-selling card game in the Guinness Book of World Records.
The amount of text on Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards is so insane, though, isn't it? Like, I just can never comprehend what has happened to the game. Like, of all the games that really honestly could use just like a clean slate, fresh start, a fusion world version, be honest, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! That is the game that should have that, but that's never going to happen.
Pokemon trading card game.
The Pokemon trading card game has been around for over...
Yeah. Yep. I actually think this ranking is right, too. I think Magic being number 1, which is obviously going to be Pokemon number 2, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Number 3 makes sense to me. I think the gameplay of Pokemon is so much easier to get into, so much more... it's a much more approachable game. It's a much more learnable game, and it's a much less convoluted game as far as basically everything is concerned, from skill effect, understanding that, rules, just general strategy, which there is strategy in Pokemon, by the way. I get you people sometimes saying that Pokemon has no strategy or whatever. It's really boring. Like, I don't know. When I was trying to get into it a little more competitively, I found it pretty compelling, but to each their own.
For 15 years, but it's easier than ever to learn how to play.
The reason it's easier than ever to learn how to play is because the game's mechanics don't actually ever change. All they do is they rotate through mechanics. So they'll have a three prize card mechanic, then they'll have a 2 prize card mechanic, then they'll have the 3 prize card mechanic again, and sometimes they'll have cards that go together, and sometimes they'll have, I don't know. They just kind of recycle the same ideas over and over again, and like, EX is back, and it'll be like 5 years from now, it'll be like, V's back, great, cool.
But recently, it's received a gigantic boom due to it being extremely popular with collectors. Because, well,
the post 2020 collectible boom was massive for Pokemon. It was huge. That said, Pokemon was always doing great. It wasn't ever lagging behind anything at all.
Number 1, Magic the Gathering.
Magic the Gathering is
Raise your hand if you're surprised. If you are not surprised by this, leave a comment down below. Huh? See, I got you.
Magic pits 2 mages against each other in an effort to pull mana from the land and try.
These players playing with alpha and beta cards with no sleeves has got to be triggering like so many people. Like, look at this volcanic island. This Soul Ring.
Magic
At least it's
pits
a whiteboard
two
or Soul Ring.
mages
But,
against each
oh.
other in an effort to pull
Look at these beat up Curd Ape and everything. I love it. It's awesome.
mana from the land and triumph over each other. As of 2023, here
Magic is absolutely a juggernaut, and Magic is never, ever going anywhere unless the world ends. I mean, that's more or less the case. I don't know. Sure, maybe in 100 years, for some reason, it'll be gone or something. But like, it's never listen to anybody who says Magic is dying. They're always 100% of the time wrong. I'm not the biggest fan of some of the directions they've taken lately, but at the same time, I'm very well aware that those are good directions to take for the game. They just personally are not to my taste, but for every me that drops off, there are like 7 other people who join the game because of the decisions that they're making. So that, yeah, Magic's Magic, man. Magic needed to be number 1 on this list.
here's to another 30 years of tapping that mana.
The game is just so polished and so well done. It might just be the best game ever made.
That line alone will trigger so many people though who hate lands. I like lands. I get why lands are in the game. I understand that, and I've defended the land system for many years, but I do really prefer games like Star Wars, Altered, even Lorcana, that give you a lot more flexibility in what you can place down as resources. Duel Masters, right? Again, there it is. So I think, I don't think it is the best game ever made. That's not something that I really agree with. I think it is a great game, but that's kind of the end of it.
What's the first trading card game you ever played? Let us know.
The first trading card game I ever played is one that you didn't put on this list, which, even aside from my own personal bias, is totally absurd, which is Star Wars CCG by Decipher. The fact, again, that so overall thoughts on this list, I'm not gonna finish the end of this video. Overall thoughts on this list are, this list made little sense as to how they rank things throughout the list. There were LCGs on the list. There were dead card games on the list. There were living card games on the list, which is fine. There were living card games on the list too. There were combining of games into one package that were completely different games that had no reason to be combined. And then they wouldn't do that with other games on the list. There were games that were not very popular at all high up on the list, which is fine. But then there are games that are basically high up on the list specifically because they're popular and they're maybe unproven, or I just frankly don't think they deserve to be that high on the list. I have some minor qualms. Weiss and Cardfight should have been swapped, I think. But like I think this list is really, really scuffed and really weird. And I don't approve. I don't approve of the WatchMojo list. But then again, there are things on there that made sense. You know, the top 3 needed to be there. Not that was a hard thing to figure out. And there are a number of good choices for the list. The problem is just that there are probably more than 20 games that deserve to be in the top 20 games. If they'd taken Marvel Champions and Arkham Horror out of this list, they could have fit in a couple more that deserve to be on the list. But yeah, that's how it is. So, there we go. Those are my thoughts on the WatchMojo top 20 best trading card games, apparently of all time, list. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Was I right? Were they right? Are you right? Let me know what you think are the big standouts in this list about what was right, what was wrong, what was missing, what was too high, what was too low. I'd love to hear from you. Let's have a fun conversation. These videos are always pretty wild. So yeah, let's talk about your favorite TCGs down below. Leave a comment. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Just a little one-off react type video. We don't usually do these, but yeah, it was kind of fun to do. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.